Hello Internet, we're on episode 7 of the first season of Freddy's Nightmares now, an episode called Sister's Keeper, which aired on 19th of November 1988 first, and is directed by Ken Wiederhorn, who directed episode 4, Freddy's Tricks and Treats, my favourite episode of the series so far. If you want to find out why, check out my video that reviews episodes 3 and 4. This is an interesting episode. It's the first one in the series that's a direct follow-up to one of the episodes that had gone previously. In actual fact, it's a follow-up to the first episode, No More Mr. Nice Guy. So again, if you want the inside scoop on episode 1, check out my video review of episodes 1 and 2. But essentially that followed the cop who arrested and then ultimately killed Freddy, turning him into the dream demon we know, and he was protecting his daughter's twin sisters, and this episode follows those sisters. One is called Lisa, and she's the strong, confident one. The other one is Merritt, who in the first episode was, when we first saw her, was mute. She's not mute now, but we learn that it's 6 months after she was released from a sanatorium. So the events pre-episode 1 and the events of episode 1 caused her to be put in an institution, and she's been out for 6 months now. And this episode is in solid Nightmare on Elm Street territory. We're dealing with kids in high school with Freddy after them in their dreams, and people not believing them, and them having to stay awake, and them trying to figure out a way of fighting Freddy in their dreams. The thing we have in this episode that we haven't seen in any of the Nightmare movies at all, so it's an interesting take on this, because they're identical twin sisters. If one gets hurt in the dream, the wounds appear on the other one come the morning. And what Freddy tries to do in this episode is break the sisterly bond between the two, and the particularly strong bond between identical twin sisters. There's a lot of interesting playing around with a sense of identity and things like that. There's some familiar themes to Nightmare fans. It's only the institutionalized sister at first, Merritt, that dreams about Freddy, and her other sister Lisa says, "I don't dream about Freddy because I don't believe in him." And this is something that has come to play in some of the later films of the series. Freddy needs that belief for him to have power. You see it in Freddy's Dead. You see it in Freddy vs. Jason specifically. In the first act, there's almost a sort of there's a small period where there's a bit of a Freaky Friday kind of thing going on. Merritt's envious of Lisa because she's popular, she's successful at school, she's confident. Lisa's envious of her sister because she gets all of her mum's attention, because she's the sickly one, she's the fragile one. So Lisa's sort of out to fend for herself. So they do a kind of swap for the day. I'll pretend to be you and you pretend to be me kind of thing. But the really nice twist, and where it gets a little freaky at the end of Act 1, is when Lisa pretends to be Merritt, and then she goes to sleep, and then Freddy attacks her in her dream. So she wakes up and she runs through to the breakfast table and says to her sister, "You were right, Freddy's coming after us," spouting off all this crazy stuff. And her mum assumes that she's Merritt. She's the fragile one. She's the emotionally disturbed one. And the episode starts playing on that sense of identity. And Lisa, at first, is told that she is Merritt, and her sister is her, and her mum doesn't believe her. A little bit later on, she comes to the breakfast table again and says, "Mum, I need to speak to you about Merritt." and all of the things, the horrible things that I thought I want to happen to her, and I want to be on my own, only for her mum to say, there is only you, Merritt. There's no Lisa. No, I'm Lisa, Mum. No, I've only got one daughter. And nice, freaky, eerie stuff like that. It's not an out and out horror episode. It's more eerie, and what happens when you lose your sense of identity. So Freddy tries to attack Merritt by putting her in Lisa's place and saying, you'll be Lisa once Lisa's gone. You can be popular, you can be confident, you can be successful. And then starts attacking the other sister as well, and coming at her in her dreams. And there's a really nice dream sequence where Lisa's trying to talk to her mum, and her mum's just acting really weird, and she goes to the kitchen cabinet and pulls out some knives and starts snapping the blades off and then sticking them into her fingers. And obviously it's Freddy, but that's really nice and creepy. It starts to look almost how Freddy's glove looks in Freddy's Revenge, Nightmare 2, where it's just the blades coming out of the end of the fingers. I always loved that look, so it's nice to see that back again. Act 2 is where the kids, and this is a familiar trope to the Nightmare series, figure that they should try and fight Freddy in their dreams, and they realise that he's trying to separate them so that they're weaker when they're on their own. You know, this is something we've seen in the part 3, the Dream Warriors. So they decide that they're going to sync up. If they can find a way to be in sync, then they'll be stronger together. They go and see the guidance counsellor. He hypnotises them. They do start to sync up. They start talking simultaneously, finishing sentences and stuff like that, being simpatico. There's an excellent scene. I wish there'd been more of it in the episode, but they don't have much time to play with. There's an excellent scene where they've both been up for 4 days, and they both had to go to equally boring classes, maths and history, and it's a case of which one's going to fall asleep first. But of course, the one that falls asleep isn't in danger, and the one that's awake notices that her arm is starting to bleed, and she has to make a do-or-die dash from her classroom to her sister's classroom to wake her up before she herself dies. They decide that they're going to go into the dreams. It's a little hokey at the end. They're going to go into the dream together, and they're going to banish Freddy. They decide that if they're in sync and they renounce Freddy and deny him and tell him he's not there, then he'll just disappear. That's no different to what Nancy does at the end of the first film, to be perfectly honest anyway, to take his power away. But Merritt wakes up. She thinks they've done it because Freddy does an excellent cat hiss when he thinks he's got them separated, and the other sister turns up to attack him. He turns around, which is superb. Merritt thinks that they're successful. She wakes up. Lisa's not in the next door bed, so she goes through to the sitting room and says, "We did it. We got rid of Freddy." And Lisa's just sat on the sofa looking really glum, and she says, "You can't just get rid of him." And in a way that's reminiscent of Glenn's death in the first film, Johnny Depp's character, Freddy's hands come out from the sofa and grab her around the waist and pull her into the sofa. Merritt wakes up again, looks to her left, and her sister's dead in the bed, cut to ribbons. Mum runs in and says, what have you done? And she said, "It wasn't me, it was Freddy, it was Freddy." End of episode. You just know that she's going to get blamed for killing her sister. She's going straight back to the asylum, which I guess is going to be Western Hills, if you're fans of the film series. So we're on solid Nightmare on Elm Street ground here. We're playing solidly with the mythos, but we're twisting it around a little bit, playing with identity, playing with the sibling bond, and for the one and only time I can think of, we have a situation where if someone is attacked in their dreams, the other sister gets it in real life. Nice, fun, solid episode. Episode 8 is called Mother's Day and first aired on the 26th of November 1988, and boy is it thin on the ground. I'll just read the précis of it. Mother's Day turns into an offspring's nightmare as two teens struggle for their respective mother's attentions. The teenagers are posed with very different problems. A young boy struggles to cope with losing his mother to an oppressive and overbearing new husband, and a teenage girl's cries for help after being accused of murder are cut off by her radio talk show hostess mother. There's not much doing in this episode at all. Act 1, boy called Billy moves into a new house with his mum and his new stepdad, who is a real fucking arsehole. Real tentative links to the Freddy mythos. The house is supposedly the house of one of his last victims when he was a human, but essentially this stepfather Al is overbearing, and there are threats of violence there, but only to the son. When the mum's around, it's all sweetness and light. But for some reason, even though they've just moved to Springwood, their first weekend there, mum and dad are going away on holiday, and the boy's left there on his own, and a girl from across the road comes and sort of arranges a party, and there's a Skins type party. People turn up and trash the place, and Al comes back and slaps him around and gets killed, or did he, and was it all a dream? And it ends up with that sort of having been a dream, but then ultimately, eventually the boy falls out of the window and dies whilst the girl's there. Really nothing to it. And then in Act 2, the girl from across the road, Barbara, is suspected of his murder rather than it being an accidental death, but she can't get the help of her mum because her mum is the talk show radio call-in psychologist for Springwood, giving hard advice, but she doesn't have time to call her own daughter, to speak to her own daughter. And while she's on the air, some guy calls her and asks her for advice. The landlord, I'm being evicted, the landlord's beating down the door, and she gives all sorts of hard-nosed advice, and the guy says, well, I'm right here. As soon as my landlord comes through the door, I'm planning to shoot him, so just give me one good reason not to shoot him. And she thinks it's a hoax, so she tells him to do what he wants, and then the landlord gets murdered on air. And then the rest of Act 2 is sort of like a rolling nightmare. There are lots of sections where she sort of thinks she's woken up, but the nightmare sort of continues, and her life sort of descends into madness. The widow of the landlord that got killed comes to the radio station and tries to attack her, and then she supposedly gets arrested for being an accessory to the murder, but then she gets released, but she hasn't got a job, and but then that was a nightmare, and she has got a job, and then she leaves the station after her shift, and her daughter's waiting there with a shotgun. Happy Mother's Day, and blows her away. But then she wakes up, and that was a nightmare. And the whole thing ends really cornball with her and her daughter sat on a bench together, and it all sort of comes full circle. And the daughter says, "Mum, you're not listening to me. I need your help." And the mum says, "Okay, let's go home together. You know, things are going to change from now on." And she's learnt her lesson. Nothing more to say. It's a skipper. You can skip this episode. If I was doing a list of vital episodes that you had to see, the last one would be on it. This one, no way. This is a fast forward job. So that's it. Still a roller coaster with the series, highs and lows. We'll see how we carry on. We are 8 episodes now into a 22 episode run, so not even halfway through yet, so let's see if the ship stabilises.